round 3, currently 2-0. We've had some pretty nice draws. This one is lacking a little bit. We're kind of land heavy and light on actual action, but I'm in there. Do need some help though. You can't really afford to draw too many boons and stones and whatnot. Just because it's like too many things that just interact with your opponent and not enough things that actually add to the board. So, got a lot of boons. A lot of boons. Just going to transform this thing immediately and then put a boon on it. Use our mana. Maybe we draw an Always Watching or something. And just get priced immediately. That kind of sucks. And we're just kind of all in. Boon up our Anointer. Little 2-power beater. I don't think we're gonna win this game. 4th land is not really gonna help us. I mean, we can put the other boon on the Anointer, but that is just not very exciting. So maybe this hand was a little too weak. And now we're just out of creatures. There's the Envoy. Not going to play our land in case we draw a Knight and they play a 4th land. We can't draw like a 1-drop and a land in the same turn. So it doesn't actually do anything to play this land here. So opponent plays Forest, then Nissa to get a Forest and not have to take a point of damage. And we're just going to boon it up. Just try and get our points in while we can. Maybe we can close this game. I'm not very hopeful, though. We do have a stone to help buy us some time if our opponent plays, you know, a big threat. I mean, get Drog Monster, Kalitas, something like that. Well, there's the frog. We found another threat. Still basically can't beat a Languish in a million billion years. Well, we're still going. We're hitting them. I missed the land drop, so they have all spells, so that's not great. And not sure if I want to actually transform or just attack. I would probably attack, but they're just going to kill it anyway. But we have another creature. Should have been pretty obvious that they had a removal spell anyway, based on the fact that they didn't crack their clue main phase. So now they crack the clue. Tap the second Llanowar Waste, which makes me think that they either have a play or don't have a grasp. Every turn, we just boot them up. Hopefully it's good enough. Alright, there's land 6, so Advocate's powered up. We go down to 8. Have our opponent on a 2-turn clock, a stone to buy some time. Oh, they have another Ruinous Path. That's not good. We need to draw a creature this turn, otherwise we're very dead. Might just be very dead anyway. 2-mana creature, that's fine. Do this and stone their Advocates. Nissa transforms, it's kind of whatever. Not super concerned about it. With them having 5 cards, even if they attack, I don't think we can realistically trade. Our plan is to kill our opponents, so we must stick with the plan. do think our draw was pretty anemic, and maybe we should have mulliganed. It's a pretty interesting one, though. 4 spells, 3 land, and it's just like a mulligan? It seems so strange, but I think it's probably correct. Yeah, opponent did a good job of not playing that other advocate last turn. It looked like they were going to. Then they didn't. But yeah, Kalidas is probably going to seal it up here because they're going to gain 3 life, and then we can't really do anything about that. So good boon, play the Dragon Hunter, chump the advocate, but they get a zombie, just go back up to 6, and then we have captain and can't really do anything. So this matchup I think is pretty interesting just because they're kind of like the black-white deck, except they also just have a bunch of creatures. So, like, the boons, I think, are still pretty good, and the removal spells are good, but I think the Bushwhackers are probably worse, despite my opponent having Languish. So I think I want the removal, but, like, you generally don't want removal and Grifspoon in your deck at the same time. So it's kind of interesting. And, like, Bushwhacker is much worse once you have a bunch of removal instead of actual threats. So I think I actually just want Gideons on the play and the removal. Maybe the boons. Boon does get me over all the stuff. But I kind of just have to be worried about Languish too. So I don't know. This one's tough. Like, the Anointers are probably going to help. Yeah, I think I just don't want the boons. Maybe I could bring in 2 Needle Spires to go along with the Gideons. Maybe I should be just bringing in all the Needle Spires. I don't know. Captains are probably pretty bad since opponent is just mono spot removal. Yeah, maybe I want all the Needle Spires. Cut a couple planes, stay at 20 land, and then maybe just get rid of a 1-drop. Possible I should just get rid of a stone also. So yeah, not an exact science. Whoa. Just maximize the preview card. Alright, so on the play. Dragon Hunter always watching stones. This is like another type of hand like how we had game 1, and I think we just have to mulligan because it doesn't do enough. This is certainly one of the reasons why always watching is pretty bad. Opponent has a bunch of removal. Our hand is creature light, and we brought in a bunch of removal ourselves, which doesn't really combo with the always watching, so I was pretty happy to cut one of those. This hand is also pretty bad, but we're going to keep. Envoy's a card. This would be much better to leave on top if we were on the draw, since we could play it on turn 1, but I don't really want to draw this thing on turn 2. It's kind of annoying. I think I'm just going to bottom, although I'm not sure how I feel about this. So we draw kind of an upgrade in that we get a slightly more powerful creature. Unlikely that we get to trigger our knight, but maybe it's possible. Yeah, we're going to lieutenant this turn and not play our land. Having Gideon kind of changes things, because if we draw land 4, we would want to play this, but I think just ensuring that our knight gives us the 4th land is probably good enough. Oh, so they do have blue. Interesting. So Could stone the pacifist. May want to just save that for Kalidas, though. And then maybe just offer some trades this turn. Why are you blocking the knight? Oh, am I getting languished? That would be horrendous. Yeah, that has to be what this is. So, glad I didn't use the stone. But a little unfortunate. We're getting kind of 3 for 3 because we got to land off our knight. We get to untap and play Gideon, which is good. If we drew a Needle Spires there, we could have played it, but we don't have another red to activate. But I thought it was worth playing the land anyway. This might just die to a Ruinous Path, and if that's the case, then we're just out of gas. And we have a bunch of reactive cards, so maybe we brought in too many reactive things. They're going to Oath of Nissa first. Into a Swamp. And then please play a creature instead of a Ruinous Path. Please just die to my Gideon. Well, we're taking a point, so that's good. Not too concerned about this Nissa. At the same time, it does attack Gideon, so I might want to just clear it out of the way anyway. And now we have a Silk Wrap, so that's even better. So we don't actually have to give them a clue, which is nice. And then we could start amassing knights, but I think we just want to pound our opponent, especially since we have 2 stones to clear the way. I feel like if they had Ruinous Path, they would have just fired that off, especially since they already had a guaranteed land drop off the Oath of Nissa. So I think the Gideon is safe. At least for now. Obviously, they could draw a Ruinous Path, but I think we are all right. Oh, Pulse is nice. So happily commit the Dragon Hunter that we drew, and then we have lethal. Our opponent could certainly present 2 things, but we'll see what happens. Another Languish? No, just Kalidas. So if they have a removal spell here, it's kind of bad. But if not, we are kind of money. Yeah, Gideon just carrying us home. Love it. So opponent has Pacifist and Advocate, so I still think the Bushwhackers are not very good. I know that Tom brought in Bushwhackers against the Naya dude in the finals. Interesting. Very interesting. I don't know if I'm supposed to want these Bushwhackers or not. I did feel like I was kind of flooded on removal, but at the same time, I did get to use all my removal spells too. So that ended up being good. Bushwhacker's a little bit better on the draw just because you end up with more resources and you kind of need a bigger push when they're on the play because they really force you to languish, especially when they have Pacifist and Advocate, which encourage you to overextend. So being on the draw means I can play out like 3 creatures, get languished, and still have a pretty good Bushwhacker turn. So I don't know, maybe... Magic's so hard. Just unbelievably hard. Don't know. Maybe I should board similar to how Tom was boarding against me. Only bringing in 3 Bushwhackers, no Gideons. Gideon does seem quite good. Just kind of like shaving on a lot of stuff too. Always watching Stone. A bunch of different 1-drops. Yeah, maybe 3 Bushwhackers is right. I still want to keep the Gideons, I think. So... Stupid transform cards. Cut an Envoy, an Anointer. Maybe I should cut all the Anointers. They're good. They're definitely good, but pretty bad against sweepers. Maybe I want the Secure to go with the Bushwhackers, but I cut a Stone. And I don't know, man. Let's get the other Envoy in there. Submit. I think we got there. All right, so 4 1-drops, a Stone and a Lieutenant, and opponent mulligan. So this is not quite... it doesn't quite fit Tom's requisite for keeping a 1-lander, but it's also just like there are no hard and fast rules. So I am going to keep this. Could be wrong. You know, we could just end up drawing a bunch of like Bushwhackers and Gideons and dying and stuff, but... Yeah, first land. Just right off the top, so we can go like triple 1-drop into Lieutenant and really force them to have a languish, but... looks like they kept on top. Oh man, Gossip Monger too. So yeah, I'm just going to kind of go all out here. And I'm going to make sure that they kept on top. I think they did. Yeah, they did. And they found a Landmore Waste, which they play. So they have Languish mana. And then it's about whether or not they actually commit something this turn or kill something this turn. So they did Dead Weight. So that makes me feel a little bit better about actually playing Lieutenant here. And then if we do get Languish, they're at 12. We can reload. Yeah, that's good. So our Lieutenant draw is pretty nice too. If we had a 3rd Plains there, it might be a little bit better because we could also play the Inspector and then potentially transform Kithian next turn. But I wouldn't be surprised if my opponent had a spot removal spell. Yeah, so I'm just going to Stone, play out another Inspector. If we draw land, we can start cracking clues and play Lieutenant. So we've mostly traded off resources here, which is like kind of why I like the 1-lander that I kept, but we also did get pretty lucky. Ooh, Kalitas is bad for us. That is so bad. Tilt. Maybe we were a little hasty using the Stone on the Advocate. Just because it was our only removal spell. Advocate's still pretty tough to get through, though. So, I don't know. It didn't really benefit me all that much because I only got in a point. So, possible I should have just saved it. Maybe just play the other Inspector, play the Lieutenant, and just go from there. But if then they played like Land 6, Languish, like... I get kind of messed up. I'd still be kind of messed up, I guess. So now it's basically like I could play Needle Spires, or I could play Plains plus Lieutenant, or Plains plus Sack My Clue. And the reason I would not play Lieutenant is because of something like Languish, where if I play out a 3rd creature, it's really good for them to just Languish and get 3 zombies off their Kalitas. Alternatively, I could play Needle Spires, try and draw a Battlefield Forge next turn, but that's still like not even that good. And I basically have this unspent mana here where I think I'm just better off playing Plains, and I'm not going to commit the Lieutenant because Also, it might encourage them to like attack, and then maybe they just take a bigger attack than they were expecting from my lieutenant. You know, like say I draw another lieutenant, for example. Could end up being pretty good. All right, so tracker. Looks like my opponent's gonna be stabilizing here. All right, Gideon's a good draw. Certainly not bad. I basically have no good attacks, so I'm just going to Gideon, make a token. And then we'll probably put the Knight ally on the tracker. Basically just chump it, let the Cletus hit the Gideon, because I assume they're going to want to attack that. If he has another removal spell, things change. Or just a removal spell, rather. So yeah, things are slipping away. Also have to keep Bushwhacker in mind. So maybe it's worth it to hold on to a Thraben Inspector. Because we could potentially draw a Bushwhacker and maybe win this game out of nowhere. Yeah, both a Gideon, so gonna chump the tracker. We could start, like, even if we block with everything, I guess that kills it. 4, then we get to kill Inspector and Knight, and if they want to kill the other Inspector, they would have to sack both their clues. But they hit an ultimate price. Yeah, so doing a bunch of blocks is not a good idea. We would just lose our squad. Well, now we can basically do everything. I do think I want to kill the Cletus. I think the tracker has done all the work already. So we're going to stone that. They're going to price one of my inspectors, which is fine. And then do I want to make a token, or do I want to like force the chump by attacking Nissa? They have so many clues. And so much life, really. So if I tick up Gideon, attack Nissa, they block with zombie. I play Lieutenant. I could either hit the Nissa for 2 or attack them, or I could keep it back. Definitely like attacking the Nissa with the Gideon. And then they could potentially just not block, let their Nissa go, try and find some removal, and finish off the Gideon. I feel like it is safer to keep the Inspector back, but at the same time, like, I can't imagine winning by not attacking them on this turn. So, for example, next turn, they could simply just like fire up Lumbering Falls and attack my Gideon with both, which would force me to double chump, which is certainly not ideal, and maybe at that point I just let the Gideon go. Especially if between like draw step plus clue, I can draw 1-drop and a Bushwhacker. Possible I could come ahead at that point. Probably going to be tough because I assume that they're just going to make a Shia this turn and probably find a creature off that oath. But no, they just find a forest. So that's good. So yeah, they might want to just make a Shia. Kind of hoping they fire up Lumbering Falls and attack the Gideon, honestly. Means they're not doing much else with their turn. Alright, so if I go Chump Chump, then I have 5, 6, 7 coming at them. They still have a Shia, though. So what if I draw 1-drop into Bushwhacker? I have like 3 power stuff all around, basically, and they have an Ashaya. 3, 6, 9, 12. So yeah, I think I just have to let this go. You gotta make a Shia this turn. It's so good. Well, we drew 1-drop, but Needle Spires instead of Bushwhacker. So, could trade one of my Inspectors for the Nissa, which might be worth it. Not sure how I'm really winning at that point, but like Nissa plus Tracker is a lot of stuff, too. Gerspoon would be pretty good this game. So would removal spells. Yeah, Bushwhacker less so. I think I was right to not bring in the Bushwhackers. They just have like too many ways to get on board, too many cheap fatties. Obviously, I should not have made that attack after playing all my stuff, but I don't think they're going to play around anything anyway. There's like nothing I could have. Tandem Tactics, maybe. Doesn't even kill their Ashaya, just lets me bounce. I think this is just like too far gone anyway. Like, they have Lumbering Falls, big Tracker, big Ashaya. Like, I'm on a pretty quick clock. And they can just sit back or attack me. It doesn't really matter. Alright, Inspector into Clue, into Bushwhacker, still dead. Expedition Envoy, still pretty dead. I can just sack 2 clues to eat my lieutenant. Yeah, I can't even really attack there. So we trade creature lands and make it so they can't sack a bunch of clues this turn. But I have to trump 2 creatures, which is not ideal. Ugh, losing so badly. Should have cut on some of these 1-drops probably. Ooh. Do you get to to stone 2 trackers, but that is just not going to be enough. We are donezo.